Monday. Dear Diary. My sister Lizzie died today. Wow. What a weird thing to say, you know? Because it's true. I mean, it sounds like the beginning of a poem that your teacher would read in English class or something. My sister Lizzie died today. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Yeah, I mean, it's not like we didn't expect it. She's been missing for months, and even before that, she was always in and out, running away, so Mom and I were always like, Lizzie's gone. Not that we said it to each other on a daily basis, or even said it at all, it was always just there. Lizzie's gone. ... Stated by the New York Times, over 30% of teenage girls in the U.S. admit they intentionally hurt themselves without the intention of suicide. In a quote by an anonymous author, "There is no greater pain than watching someone you love their drugs more than you." This was the case for Hannah as she slowly watched her sister Lizzie take away her life, thus causing Hannah to pick up the only thing that made sense to her: a blade. All Hannah wanted was to be remembered as her mother's girl, from the section titled Things You Can't Tell Just by Looking at Her by Megan Mostyn Brown. Lizzie's gone, period. It's funny, you know? I didn't cry at all today. And I felt really bad because, well, you're supposed to cry when people die. But all I could think about all day is that if I were gonna jump off a bridge like her, I wouldn't do it in the middle of July. I would do it in November or the beginning of March, on one of those days where you wake up with a chill because it never really stops drizzling. And the bridge would be just a little bit slippery and the water really cold. People would have to wonder, did she do it on purpose? Or was the handrail too slick? But not today. Today was one of those days where it's like 98 degrees before noon and all anyone can do is try to keep from sticking to the furniture. Mom hasn't said anything all day. I take that back. She hasn't said anything to me. She said thank you to the police officer who came by the house, and she mumbled Lizzie's name to the receptionist at the morgue. I didn't go in. I sat in a plastic chair in the hallway and counted the number of tiles from my feet to the front desk. There were 72. Anyways, I'm glad I didn't go in, you know? Because when people drown, they get all blue and bloated. That's not how I'd like to remember her. I'd like to remember her like that one picture of Ophelia. It's Ophelia floating on her back in this pond, and she's wearing a really beautiful dress with a crown of flowers on her head. That's how I'd like to remember her. There's gonna be a funeral, and who are we gonna invite? Because Mom and I didn't know Lizzie's friends. Mom pressed her for it, and they would fight, you know, breaking things, screaming, yelling, etc. Pretty soon, Lizzie just stopped coming home at all. And now that she's gone for good, it's like we can erase all of the bad. Wow. It sounds like I'm glad she's dead. Anyways, it's just gonna be me and Mom at the funeral. Maybe her friends, wherever, or whomever they are, will throw a little something for her somewhere else. At least I'd like to think that's true. I mean, someone, somewhere has to have a few good things to say about her. Tuesday. Dear Diary. I've been thinking like a lot, which sucks because all I can think about is Lizzie. There was this article in the paper mentioning her. They talked about how sad it was that her life ended so soon and what a demise it made on the adolescence of our society. That's it. they left out everything. I mean, they didn't even talk to us. It's like they felt sorry for her without even knowing what really... I mean, she was a drug addict. You know, all of this is just really hard when you're only 15. You see, I started to hurt myself. Wednesday. Dear Diary. Last night, the house was like suffocating quiet. So I used a straight razor. I usually don't. I prefer the pink thick kind, does the job, less damage. So I use a straight razor. And afterwards, it's like fireworks and deep breaths and the good kind of weak knees all at once. Until I noticed that there's no point in being graphic. Suffice to say, there's a lot of blood, and I start to feel sort of faint, and I don't want to call Mom, so I go to the emergency room, which is good, because they stitched me up. 10 stitches with the kind of thread that will dissolve when the wound's all healed. But since I'm a minor, they won't let me go home. They make me sit in this office with this nurse, and she asked me if I've ever done anything like this before. Which is the stupidest question I've ever heard, because she can clearly see the marks. And I say yes in this voice that doesn't even sound like me. She asks for how long, I say 2 years, and then I ask, can I please go home? I'm a straight A student, I'm a good person, I promise I won't ever do it again, just please let me go home. But I can't until my mom gets here. So I stare at my toes and try to make myself small enough so that all of this will disappear. Thursday. Dear Diary. Mom's not at work today. She's at home planning for the funeral. And I noticed that all the knives and my razor, you know, the one that I used to shave my legs with, is gone. And for dinner, we have soup and salad, you know, things you don't have to cut. I notice she keeps peeking at my arms. I mean, it's not like I've stopped. I can't. I've just moved my activities to a new region here. And the only thing keeping me sane is this stupid fantasy I have where I sweep everything off the table. You know, like how they do it in movies when they're trying to make a point? And I would strip down to my underwear and I'd show her every scar and tell her what each one meant. I'd say, this one. This is when you missed my school play because you were too busy roaming the city at night looking for her. And this one, this is when you yelled at me because Lizzie broke curfew for the 87th time. And this is when I cleaned the house, mopped the floors and everything, and you didn't even notice because you were too busy worried about how she had stolen a stupid stereo. These are from when she had to get picked up in jail. These are the last 6 months she was missing. And this one? This is when you left me at the register with a conveyor belt full of groceries because you thought you saw her in the parking lot. And while all the normal families loaded up their brown bags into their station wagons to go have normal family dinners, I was the mother who held your head in my lap because it wasn't her. And this long one that curves from my wrist, it's because you haven't spoken to me since last Monday when she died. I'm still here. I still exist. Thank you.